Welcome to our session. I'm Brian Alsdorf, Director of IT at MariaDB, and this is Brian Suk from SADA. We're going to talk to you a little bit about MariaDB's path to the cloud, to Google Cloud. SADA has been one of our key partners who helped us launch SkySQL and continues to be our valued partner with SkySQL, as well as helping us with all general kind of the IT path to the cloud, not just SkySQL, but any applications. And, Google Cloud has a breadth of offerings that SADA has helped us with.
And yeah, I just wanted to give a brief introduction to myself. I'm Brian Suk. I'm based right here in New York City, so glad to be with you all. I am the Associate CTO for Data Engineering and Analytics here at SADA Systems. Personally, I come by way of working directly at Google Cloud and other vendors such as SAP, working on their database and technology group, Informatica, and other such, just been in the data space all my entire life. So here representing our company, as Brian mentioned, we've been close partners with the deployment and development of SkySQL. So we're here to talk about that journey and possibly how we might be able to leverage this partnership to better your implementations and migrations to the cloud. So yeah, I guess we're going to kick it off by Brian talking a little bit about MariaDB's own journey to the cloud in general, and as well as the benefits of moving to GCP. So I guess we'll just get right into it.
Yeah, so our journey to GCP started back in 2020, I think, with the launch of SkySQL. So, prior to that, we were using various we had various cloud resources. We had stuff on a variety of clouds. But to launch SkySQL, we wanted to have a good launch partner. We wanted to pick someone who could help us just really, you're going to launch a new product. You want to make sure you're on the right cloud, you have the right help and the right feature set for that. We really liked how Google Cloud integrated with what we were already doing. It's modern. It really was designed as a cohesive experience, and we just found it so easy to work with. And we found a lot of customers of ours, or prospective customers, were in Google Cloud and needed a good database solution. Some of the technical benefits we found was just it's easy to do things. Like I mentioned, it's an integrated, cohesive solution, so everything's in one console. It's easy to do things either in your browser, integrated with Terraform. Everything can it's just a good experience. It's just pleasant to work with, and the performance has been great for us as well.
So one of the other things I want to mention is I think we should be on the next slide, because I'm noticing that what's on our screen is not what's shown.
Sorry, haven't presented for a while, and the presenter view was, anyways, wrong. So yeah. But yeah, so, yeah, hang on. But yeah, so part of this process, in addition to launching SkySQL, we also modernized our own internal tech stack. As mentioned, we were on some, we had a couple data centers, we had some of the smaller, hosting providers that you inevitably do as a company. You acquire a company that's using something, or you launch an application on a particular platform. And we were really looking to migrate to one platform and modernize our application stack. And modernizing was not just like, let's move them to Google Cloud. You can lift and shift, and that's a great option for many things. But a lot of it is like, we can make our own, you can install your own database in Google Cloud. Totally fine. Lots of people do that. But when you're modernizing an application, the question is, how can we do things better in the cloud? And that's, you can use Kubernetes, you can use all sorts of options. And one of the easy ways, I'm biased because I'm with MariaDB, is that you can use SkySQL. And so instead of worrying about your own database, you can let us worry about it for you. And so we launched, like I said, in April 2020 on GCP. They're our initial partner with SADA. And we just wanted to give our customers, first, database as a service, like just with Expand, we can scale horizontally out across different cloud availability zones and just have a great experience for customers. So turning to SADA and Brian, but who is SADA? Can you tell us a little bit about you?
Yeah, absolutely. And I think gonna try to go through this very quickly because I don't want to give a too long of a sales pitch, but I got to pay the bill somehow, and they require me to talk about this. So, the purpose of our company is really to be a outcomes-oriented company for our customers, right? So whether it's direct technology vendors such as MariaDB, or whether they're people trying to serve their own businesses internally, or whatever the use case is, we're here to guide you. Because what MariaDB brings to the table is market-leading technology, and they want to deploy it on a market-leading cloud, but you sometimes need a guide to be able to take advantage of the best that the cloud has. So our company, if we're going strictly by numbers, we are Google Cloud's #1 partner. I myself am an ex-Google Cloud employee. A large portion of our company is, and the people that we employ are typically the smartest that we can find, people that we pick from the Google ecosystem, and we try to bring them in one place so that we can serve solutions to our customers. What this led to is us being five-time award winner right in a row for the Google Cloud Partner of the Year designee. They actually made us global partner and then said that they needed someone else to be it because we kept dominating it, so they moved us to North America partner, but we're trying to get back into the global as well. But they're trying to sort of spread the love around. But trust me, we are the largest Google Cloud exclusive partner there is in the ecosystem. We are the only one who does Workspace, Google Cloud, anything Google Maps. If it has a Google logo on it, we are typically experts in that field. And we do this through leveraging our global delivery team. So we span. Let me actually move past this one. And so this is where I think it gets a little bit more relevant, because what we're trying to do is we're trying to take the best of Google Cloud and its capabilities to be able to be very user-friendly, scalable, and very customer-centric in the way that they design their platform. And we want to bring the solutions that we can bring to market to adopt those as quickly as possible. And so that was, when we partnered first with MariaDB, we brought our expertise of how Google Cloud Platform itself works, whether it's leveraging the analytics it brings on its monitoring, or leveraging the scalable Kubernetes hosting that Google Cloud does, or anything under the platform. We were able to partner with MariaDB to bring the best of GCP over so that SkySQL can come to fruition on this platform as quickly as they could possibly do it, right? And so what's really cool about this, though, is even though the database platform does have its own very strong features, it's built upon the market-leading platform itself. So a lot of the inherent security, a lot of the scalability, a lot of the SLAs that they hit, those are going to be added benefits by just being on GCP that's now coming into the SkySQL solution just by way of being on that, right? So we could get into a number of different ways that GCP itself is differentiated from AWS. I will be around after this, and find me if you want to learn more about that. But we also do this throughout our global delivery team. So we are primarily headquartered out of North America, but we do follow the sun with our global footprint. And so this means that we can support companies from small startups all the way to large enterprises, no matter where you are. And our breadth of expertise spans from application development to database modernization to analytics modernization. So the really cool thing about this particular partnership is the fact that if you are building an application on GCP, or if you are migrating your application over from AWS or Azure onto GCP, and as part of that migration and that modernization process, if you decide, preferably, that MariaDB is going to be a core component of that new architecture that you're bringing, by leveraging us as well as MariaDB, we now have combined expertise to bolster our expertise and bring you the best and the latest in implementing SkySQL on GCP in the context of your application development. So for us, by me being here, the reason why I'm here is to be able to convey to you that our services now encompasses what the best of MariaDB has to bring in your total application development space. So that's what we want to leave you with for us. Yep. I am going to bring it back to Brian because we do want to talk a little bit more about the usage of SkySQL on GCP and some of the customer examples. And so I'm going to pass it back to Brian to talk more about that.
Yeah, so why do customers choose SkySQL? Why do they why do they pick us over competitors, pick us to migrate existing applications to, or pick us for new applications? There's a lot of reasons, but the common theme that I get, and actually I heard a customer say this just yesterday, is like they want to stop worrying about their database and they just want to focus on their application. And now this is a database conference, so a lot of you probably actually love databases and like nerd out on all the details, but like I don't love databases. Like I want to store data and know that it's going to be there no matter what happens and that I can access it quickly. And so that's the number one reason we see why customers choose us, is they just want to focus on their business or their application or things that they're the experts at. Because we're experts in databases, but you're experts in your own business. And we really want you to be able to focus on that and take that burden off of it. So this is one of our customers, Virgin Media. They, most of y'all have probably heard of them. They were dealing with lack of visibility into their database performance and dealing with growth pains, the common things with slow running queries, performance issues. They looked at a ton of different options, and they chose SkySQL for our scalability and just a better customer experience. And they have over 30 million users that are using SkySQL today on the Virgin Media network. Campus Cloud. So during, it's the classic COVID boom story. COVID hit, everything moved online in education, and their systems weren't handling it. But they also couldn't have any downtime. They couldn't just be like, all right, we're going to come back and we have a 3-month project to migrate to the cloud and increase performance, check back later. They had their on-prem, and we lifted and shifted them into SkySQL on GCP to just get better performance. And our SkyDBA team has been integral in supporting them. For those of you who don't know SkyDBA, it's our fractional DBA service. So if you don't have database experts on hand, we can be those database experts for you that your application developers can talk to, that can actually handle everything around running your database in SkySQL for you, a little bit more hands-on. And then this is F&I. They had a bunch of aging hardware and expensive Oracle licenses. And they could buy new hardware, spin it up in a data center, help Larry buy another yacht. But instead, they came to SkySQL, used our Oracle compatibility mode and some of our other features, and they cut just their licensing cost by 80%. That's not even counting not having to purchase new hardware. And then Brian's going to talk about a couple of our joint customers.
Yeah, and these are customers where they're not publicly referenceable, so we don't have the exact names up there. But what I do want to talk about are some of the things that we see that customers are looking at when they're evaluating databases and trying to pick which one to use, right? And that led them down to the MariaDB and SkySQL path. I'm going to disagree with Brian a little bit. I do love databases, so I love tinkering them and I love the mechanics of them. What I do not enjoy, though, personally, is infrastructure. And so the reason why I think managed solutions such as SkySQL are great is because it lets people like me who love databases get into the database without having to worry about what machine type, what networking, what zone, like all these different infrastructure bits that I wish would just go away. And it turns out that I'm not the only one, because when we talked to one of our key customers that we worked on together, that was actually one of the key decision points, the manageability of the database that they like, but in an environment where all the infrastructure is abstracted away, click a button, deploy, all the things like maintenance, backups, all that stuff is taken care of for you, right? So being able to lower your TCO by using a managed solution is something that a lot of people are looking at. Another thing that's also come up is this idea of hybrid deployments as well. So if you have MariaDB on premises somewhere within your data center, and for whatever reason, whether it's business, political, or engineering related, someone can have a number of different reasons why you don't want to just chuck it day one and move directly to the cloud, but you still want to take advantage of some of the managed offerings in the cloud. So SkySQL's hybrid deployment methodology is something that's very unique, in my opinion, and it's not too common in the market space. And being able to do that with a database that a lot of people are already familiar with is something that's a pretty clear differentiator. So some customers are looking at that aspect. Also, the cost portion of it too, right? And so this actually, when I mentioned some of the trickle-down effects of being hosted on GCP, one of the really cool things about it is that it's very efficient. And if you are efficient, that means that your overall costs go down. And so when we're looking at managed offerings, if you consider a lot of the total overhead that goes into maintaining your own clusters, maintaining your own infrastructure, and abstracting that away, and then taking those costs out of the equation, we are seeing that customers typically see a reduction in TCO, which is always, especially in this current climate we're in, everyone's looking at the bottom line. So anything that helps lower the impact to that bottom line is always going to be a win for everyone involved. So those are just some, I didn't want to just regurgitate what's on the slide. I wanted to talk to you just about some of the things that our customers are talking to us about. And hopefully when you start to think about the decisions you make in your architecture and the cloud that you choose and the solution you choose, those are things that you should also start asking around as well. And with that, we actually didn't want to slide you to oblivion because I'm sure all day you've been seeing slides all day. So we did just want to leave an inordinate amount of time for Q&A in case you had any questions around cloud deployments, cloud migrations, or Google Cloud in general. That's what I do all day, day in, day out. So, yeah.
Questions here in the room? Yes, sir.
Hey, so I was just curious, you said a lot of times lift and shift, isn't always an option. Does SADA help with the just the kind of more of the data aspects, or are you also going to work with clients on the app, potential for app redesign, right? Some you can lift and shift, some you might need a real redesign at. I think that was kind of something Brian was saying earlier. Is that something you kind of help people with? Or?
Yeah, so we do have services. We can go as far deep as you want and as far back as you want. So if you just want minimal help getting set up on GCP, and you tell us, hey, we got this, we know how to deploy it, that's perfectly fine. We have also on the flip side, UX designers, we have front-end developers, we have back-end infrastructure people, app dev people, and then we also have engagements that are custom in between. So it's really dependent upon your maturity level and where you want us to be engaged. Yep.
Great. Other questions here in the room? All right. From our online audience, there's a question. In terms of advice or best practices you have for growing organizations who are moving to the cloud or migrating data to the cloud, what would you advise them?
Ooh, I have thoughts, but if you have opening thoughts.
You are much better at talking than I am, so you start and I'll fill in any other comments I have.
So when migrating to the cloud, it ultimately depends upon what your risk tolerance is, because I think anyone who tells you that a migration to the cloud is one-click deploy and zero risk is lying to you. So it's going to be how much appetite you have to be able to endure those bumps in the road in order to get to the end state where you're taking advantage of the cloud native stuff. It's going to be a factor of budget and timeline. So my general suggestion is if you're migrating an already large established legacy deployment onto the cloud is to start small and win small. Because I think we always engineer towards how the technology will move, but one of the key things that I always remind everyone is that there's people involved, and we always forget that 9 times out of 10. And by being able to make it as modular and as granular as possible in your migration, that lets you get quick wins that are highly visible to end stakeholders up the chain, right? So that's something, if you're trying to win support for a large multi-year implementation, that's incredibly important because executives like to see things that light up. So the sooner you can show a dashboard light up where you see a part of the application working or some sort of front end that's where an executive can come in and click and point to, that's always going to win you points in the long run. So I would, in conjunction, that also mitigates the risk because now you're doing a piecemeal deployment instead of like a big bang deployment. So that's one thing to take in consideration too. With the data part, that is also crucial because when you are migrating a database, if you are going from on-premises onto SkySQL, you also don't want to do that in a big bang approach because the other thing is it's not just the database in isolation. That database is going to be connected to something, usually like 50 other different things. So by making sure you do that in a piecemeal and disciplined approach, you're going to make sure that the things that you don't anticipate, haven't taken account for, or you're planning to rewire aren't going to suddenly break on you. So again, I think modularity is key, and getting quick wins is also key. I don't know if you have any other comments.
Yeah, just really adding on to it, like disaster recovery is a great use case that I absolutely love to start your migration. So you're running MariaDB on-prem and you're taking backups and you're doing something with them. But you can, with like hybrid deployment, you can take an existing MariaDB database and you can just start replicating it to the cloud. And then if your data center, catches on fire, you have your data in the cloud. And also on top of that, if you have any read-only workloads, like you're running analytics, so you can start with the disaster recovery, but then you can start running your analytics in the cloud, which is on your, on that copy of the data. It's not writing anything back. So that's one of my favorite strategies for going from on-prem to in the cloud. And that's actually what we did personally is when we started to migrate to the cloud to SkySQL, because we have our own internal applications, that is how we approached it. So there was no big bang. It was, disaster recovery, analytics, and then finally, when we moved everything over, everything was already there. So.
And we helped. So.
Excellent. Other questions from the audience? Come on, guys. You want to know about GCP and SADA and other use cases or the toughest implementation that they've ever worked on, right?
What is the toughest?
Good. We've got a question here.
Nope.
A serious question.
What are the challenges to run a hybrid operation in the meanwhile? You have to maintain two platforms at the same time. It has some challenge with the customers about, I don't know, difficulty of managing both operations at the same time, or a cost or objections about I have to pay for two things at the same time.
Yeah, I can take that. So, every situation is different. If you're trying to, write data to two places at once, that's challenging. On one thing on cost is, depending on the workload you move over, you can start very small in the cloud because it's not getting a lot of use. It's mainly there for data recovery, disaster recovery. So when you're doing that, you can start with a smaller instance, and as you move more workloads to it, you can just scale it up. That's the challenge. And from a business standpoint, you have to convince all the stakeholders that it's the right choice. And, security always comes up. People are very comfortable with the idea that their data is locked in a room someplace that they own and have control of. And so moving to the cloud can be a scary thought. But, like he mentioned, we're on Google Cloud. We're leveraging all their security. We have our own strong security program. We have our certifications and compliance. But you have to get legal. You have to get security. You have to get all those stakeholders to buy in. And that's really the challenge. There's a ton of technical challenges, but as technical people, like technical challenges, you can just step and address because they're technical and most of the time they're logical. dealing with people is not always logical. Some people, people have their, I just say people have their own views, world views, and there may be that person who never wants to be in the cloud. But really, the business challenges, starting that progress really is the hardest part, because once you have those agreements in place, so your legal team has, redlined that agreement with Google Cloud, redlined it with MariaDB, when you add another service or scale up, you don't have to worry about that anymore. So yeah.
Thank you. Was there a question over here from one of you gentlemen? No? Okay. You guys, any parting thoughts, words of wisdom?
I mean, I'm a little bit biased, but I do think Google, whether you're talking about scale, security, the security one's an interesting discussion. Happy to talk to you offline if anybody are curious about Google and security, because I know that's always those two names in the same sentence always raise a lot of questions. Happy to answer them. But I do, I'm not extolling that just because, just because of the company I work for or who we are. I generally do believe that it is the most user-friendly, most interesting cloud, and you can do really cool things on it. And that's why I keep working on it day after day. So yeah, if anyone has any questions offline, feel free to reach out.
Yeah, same. I'm around. I'm happy to answer any questions about MariaDB's journey to Google Cloud or SkySQL or any other questions you might have.
Awesome. Thank you both. Great session.
Oh.